Welcome in to the Ravens Rundown, powered by Chat Sports. Tyler Jones here with you. Appreciate you joining us. Coming up on today's show, Minicamp is officially underway for your Baltimore Ravens. I will give you my expectations, what to watch for the Baltimore Ravens throughout Minicamp. But before we do, it is trivia time here on the channel today. I want to know, let's see if you guys can figure this out. Name the first player the Ravens ever drafted as a franchise from the time that they came to Baltimore. Who was the first player drafted? Let me know in the comments section. And if you don't know, I will reveal the answer at the end of today's show. All right, first thing I'm watching for is the beginning of a new era for Lamar Jackson. His next chapter begins right here and right now with the Baltimore Ravens. And Lamar Jackson, this offseason, was entering a situation where obviously looking for a new contract, entering a fifth-year option, and based on the way last season went for Lamar Jackson, it wasn't great. Played 12 games, threw 16 touchdowns at 13 interceptions, coming off the worst season of his career as a full-time starter at this point. And now we've heard the rumblings about Greg Roman, that Greg Roman is going to change up the offense a bit. And now you wonder, can he adapt it to Lamar Jackson's strengths? This past offseason, you lose your top two wide receivers from last year, Marquise Brown and Sammy Watkins. Now the focus goes to the tight ends. With as good as that tight end room is, more on that later, can this team work to Lamar's strengths? Because here's the deal. The truth of the matter is that when Lamar Jackson is playing at his best, he is arguably the most dangerous player in the National Football League when he's playing at his best. But Greg Roman has to put Lamar in a position to play at his best. It's a twofold operation there. So, with that said, Lamar Jackson is playing with a chip on his shoulder this year. He's looking to bounce back after a disappointing 2021. But then on the flip side, too, Lamar Jackson is trying to play for that contract extension to show what he's really worth. You go back to his MVP season. It wasn't too long ago when he threw for 36 touchdowns and threw for 3,100 yards. It wasn't too long ago when he rushed for over 1,200 yards, had a nice average of 6.9 yards per carry and 7 touchdowns. So we've seen Lamar, what he's capable of, that he can be as elusive as anybody in this league. But Greg Roman has to give him the tools and the weapons to be able to do so. More on the rest of minicamp in just a moment, but want you guys to weigh in now. Do you think Lamar can win the MVP in 2022? If so, then like the video. If not, comment and tell me why Lamar would not win the MVP. This is our pinned comment today. You're about to get an ad break. Take advantage of it. While that ad's playing, let me know one way or the other. Like the video if you think Lamar can win the MVP. Comment why not if you do not believe so. Number 2 on our countdown, the wide receiver battle for the Baltimore Ravens. Now, look, it's pretty obvious that Rashad Bateman's going to be your number 1 wide receiver, but look at the rest of this group here. Beyond Rashad Bateman, when you go to the next group of guys, it is anyone's guess how this will all play out beyond Rashad Bateman. You know, I'm high on Tylan Wallace. I know that he's listed as the number 4 receiver right now, but who knows, by the end of camp, if he plays like what we saw the player he was at Oklahoma State, Tylan Wallace is capable of being that number 2 receiver, I think. Look, Bateman's your number 1 guy. And Bateman, although he wasn't great last year, we have seen those glimpses of hope that show that Bateman could be a really good receiver in this league. But what are you going to get beyond that? Here's an opportunity for these guys. And not only is minicamp an opportunity for these guys to compete with each other, but it's also an opportunity to say, look, you don't need to bring anybody else in to try to take our jobs away. Look, there's some pretty decent receivers right now that are still on the free agent market. Julio Jones, Odell Beckham Jr., Will Fuller, Emmanuel Sanders, all guys that, sure, there's some injury history there, but they've all had their moments in the sun. All 4 of those guys that you saw on your screen a moment ago are more proven than anyone on this screen that you see right now, even Rashad Bateman at this point. So, with that said, big opportunity for these guys not only to compete with themselves, but also to compete with those other free agents out there to say, look, it's our time now. It's our time to step up. Now, let me know in the comment section. How would you rank the Ravens wide receiver core? 1 through 32. There are 32 teams in the NFL, in case you didn't know that. Rank them for me. Tell me where you would put this Ravens receiving core. Is it the best? If so, give it a 1. If it's the worst, give it a 32. Put the number on it of where you think the Ravens receiving core ranks among the NFL. Next up, the separation at the tight end spot. As I've said many times in this program, I am very high on the tight end room in Baltimore. But now, where is the separation? We know that Mark Andrews is your number one guy. But when you look beyond that, can Charlie Kolar compete with Nick Boyle? What about Oliver and company here? I mean, Likely is really good too. Who is going to be that number 2 tight end? I don't think it's a done deal that Nick Boyle is necessarily your number 2 guy. Here's a chance these next few weeks, minicamp on to training camp, to prove yourself, to show how good you really are among this tight end room, to see who's going to be on the field when it matters most. Here's what Mark Andrews had to say about those rookie tight ends. It feels like they're light years ahead of where I was as a rookie or how I felt. They're very confident. They understand the offense. They're running great routes. They're catching the ball well. The moment is not too big for them, which is great to see for them. I think they both have a natural kind of knack for football and understanding the game, which is special. I think both these guys are going to be good players for a long time. And Charlie Kolar in particular is the one that stands out to me. He reminds me actually of Mark Andrews. To me, that might be why Mark Andrews speaks so highly of this tight end room, because he can look at a Charlie Kolar and see himself in Charlie Kolar, essentially. So, to me, I agree. Yes, this tight end room is very good, but here's your chance to compete. Let's see who's going to get that playing time when it matters. Here's your chance to prove it right now in minicamp. Ravens Rundown, bringing you coverage of this team each and every day on the channel. We are all over it like no one else is. And we're going to cover minicamp all the way to training camp, counting you down to kickoff at every angle on this channel. And what you need to do so you never miss a moment is subscribe to the channel now. Tell all your friends as well. Make sure they're subscribed to the Ravens Rundown as well. YouTube.com/RavensTV. That's YouTube.com/RavensTV. Turn the notifications on as well, will you, please? Next up, the running back competition for the Ravens. Last year, this position was just a disaster. Everything that went wrong for this group. But look, this is a very good group if they can stay healthy. Let's start out with JK Dobbins. Can he get back to form? Can he get back to what we saw before he missed all of last year? Look at the numbers from 2020. Pretty decent. 800 yards, 9 touchdowns, 6 yards a carry. He was really good. Now, what's happened is when we've seen these guys come back from, these major injuries, these season-long injuries, is that we have this unrealistic expectation of back when Adrian Peterson came back from the ACL injury, he won the MVP the next year and ran for 2,000 yards. You can't put everybody to that standard of what Adrian Peterson did that terrific year for the Minnesota Vikings. I think J.K. Dobbins can have a nice bounce-back year, but let's take this piece by piece. Give him some time to develop. I mean, I'm not saying that he or Gus Edwards or these guys are going to be MVP backs coming back from injury, but watch out. This will be a good running back room. I like Dobbins, but don't forget about Tyler Badie either, the running back from Mizzou, who they got in the 3rd round of the draft. He can be in the 6th round, day 3 rather. Badie, I think, could be a very good impact, change of pace type of back for this Ravens team. To me, he is someone I'm watching closely for. And the main thing, too, for whoever runs the football, you got to take pressure off Lamar Jackson. He cannot be your sole runner in this offense. Otherwise, that's asking for him to get hurt. So, our next question that I want to ask you, will a Ravens running back rush for more yards than Lamar Jackson? I hope so, and that's not a knock on Lamar at all, but for his safety, for his longevity, someone else has got to run the football here, okay? Simple as that. Type Y for yes, type in for no if you think our Ravens running back is going to rush for more yards than Lamar. Last but not least, the pass rushers. Here is their chance to emerge in this Baltimore defense. You know, I look at Odafe, and you know he needs to step up, right? I mean, we've seen what the Ravens have coming up of some good young talent, and now it's his chance. This is as good of opportunity as ever for him because you know who's behind him? David Ojabo, the star outside linebacker from Michigan, who is likely not going to play this much this season, if at all, after the injury he suffered that he's going to be recovering from. But expectations are high that when Ojabo gets his opportunity, that he's potentially going to be a star in this league. You know, sack daddy Jalen Ferguson, he hasn't lived up to that name, not by any stretch of the imagination. Set the NCAA record for sacks, and if we call him sack daddy right now, it's out of irony of all things. Where's that been? So whether it's Odafe or any of these guys, this group has a chance to make a big impact. Calais Campbell, I think, is going to be a good piece this year. Watch out. Should be interesting to see how this all unfolds here, but a competitive group. Here's your chance to stand out and step up here in minicamp here. Now, before we go, at the top of the show, I asked you to name the Ravens' first pick as a franchise, the first ever pick they had, and here is the answer to that question. It is the Hall of Famer Jonathan Ogden is the correct answer. If you got that right, kudos to you. If you didn't get it right, we'll try again next time. Thanks for joining us here on the Ravens Rundown.